Your mother forced you to play the role of a wild, playboy punk. But instead, you became the legendary king of the underworld. All because the Su family was once the absolute #1 family. To avoid attracting too much unwanted attention, the old patriarch ordered the entire family to go into hiding and conceal their identities. But 25 years later, every lowlife thinks they can trample all over the Su family to reclaim their lost glory. They decided they wouldn't lay low anymore. Right 9, inside the Queen Bar in Linzhou, dozens of young clubbers are grinding away in the middle of the dance floor. But you're sitting up in a private VIP booth on the 2nd floor, looking at the gorgeous woman sitting across from you, smiling. Miss Mu, as the most beautiful woman in Lanzhou. I'm honestly shocked you're actually on a blind date with me. Wu Qinyu smiles softly. I've heard quite a bit about the brothers the Su family. The eldest, Su Nan, is as sharp as a razor. The second, Su Qing, is as steady as a mountain. But the third young master, Su Wuji, is nothing but a reckless, wild playboy. Hearing this, you dangle a cigarette from your lips and grin. So, did you find out their judgment is spot on? But Mu Qianyu just shakes her head, chuckling. Actually, now that I've met you, I think young Master Su is a rather interesting man. The rumors don't do you justice. A knowing gleam flashes in her eyes. Young Master Su, to be honest, my family is in a bit of trouble. And my father said, you're the only one who can help us. You grin lazily at her words. Miss Mu, your old man seriously overestimates me. I'm just a useless slacker who wastes his life away in nightclubs. How could I possibly have the power to get mixed up in your high society family drama? Just then, 3 stunning girls happen to walk past your booth. They're wearing tight, revealing miniskirts. Looking incredibly seductive, you let out a sharp, loud whistle at them and shout with a smug grin. Hey, you 3, come find me in a bit. Same as yesterday. And let's go all night. Hearing this, Mu Qinyu frowns slightly, but then she smiles again. Still hitting on girls even at a time like this? You really are a piece of work, young Master Su. There isn't a hint of disappointment in her eyes. After all, the rumors say this third young master of the Su family runs with gangs and sleeps around. A complete and utter scoundrel. To be honest, Chanyu is still a bit puzzled as to why her father insisted this guy was the only one who could help her. But right at that moment, a harsh aggressive shout rings out from the booth next to you. You ungrateful bitch! If you don't drink this glass tonight, forget about ever signing that contract with our company. A few of them turned toward the sound. They saw a man in a sharp suit grabbing a girl by her hair, violently shoving a wine bottle right into her mouth. Annoyed, you waved your hand and shouted, "So noisy! Pang, go make them shut up!" A moment later, Pang walked back and mumbled meekly, "Boss, they're quiet now." Hearing this, your lip twitched. Frowning, you scolded, "How many times have I told you? Be gentle when you handle things." Looking innocent, Pang whimpered, "But boss, I only used 10% of my strength." I was really being gentle. You tapped your temple with your finger and said awkwardly, "Miss Mu, this buddy of mine is a bit slow in the head. Please bear with him." Mu Qinyu chuckled softly, bringing the conversation back. Actually, I have no interest in seizing my family's inheritance. The reason I decided to do this is for self-preservation. Hearing this, you shook your head and chuckled. The battle for inheritance in a powerful family. One wrong move, and you lose your life. I'm afraid I cannot help you with your request, Miss Mu. Then she pulled out an envelope and said, "If we cooperate, I won't let you lose out, Mr. Su." You took the envelope and tore it open, only to find an $8 million check inside. Seriously, this is just a deposit. Once it's done, you will receive a much bigger reward. You sized Mu Qinyu up from head to toe, grinned, and said, "Miss Mu, I don't lack money. It's not impossible to get me to help you. But we have to change the terms." Hearing this, Mu Qianyu, who was sitting nearby, almost burst out laughing. She felt that this Su Wuchu was quite different from the rumors of him being a violent, brutal, and playboy scumbag. So, meeting his playful gaze, she asked firstly, "What exactly are your terms? Please feel free to speak, Mr. Su." In fact, Mu Qianyu had already guessed what you were going to say. The conditions men set for women usually involve their bodies. Sure enough, you grinned mischievously and said, "If Miss Mu is willing to be my girlfriend, then whatever concerns the Mu family will naturally be my business." With an I-knew-it look on her face, Mu Qianyu replied, "I heard Mr. Su has many girlfriends. I'm sure you don't need one more. I think we can still be good friends, though." In response, you wagged your index finger and said with a grin, "Good friends? I never make friends with beautiful women. Cow, see our guest out." Qianyu was stunned for a moment. Then, she flashed a breezy smile and said, "Mr. Su, you really are something else. I'm sure we'll meet again." Her stunning smile left you momentarily dazed. Subconsciously, you muttered, so beautiful, that it almost makes me want to change my mind. Outside the bars, as Mu Qianyu opened the passenger door, she suddenly turned around and asked, "Mr. Peng? Rumor has it your boss has a lot of girlfriends. Exactly how many women are around him anyway?" With a completely expressionless face, Peng replied, "My boss told me not to say." Instantly, a gossip-hungry spark flashed in Mu Qianyu's eyes. She eagerly pressed him. What did he tell you not to say?
Pang replied without missing a beat.
Boss told me not to tell anyone he's still a virgin.
Mu Qianyu couldn't help but burst out laughing. Mr. Peng, I'm afraid absolutely no one in Linzhou's nightlife would ever believe that. Before her voice could even fade, her phone buzzed with a text message. Even though Miss Mu can't be my girlfriend,
I'm definitely keeping this check you delivered to my door. Right after, a roaring, enthusiastic announcement echoed from inside the bars. Tonight, Mr. Su made a fortune. Drinks are on Mr. Su tonight. Deafening cheers erupted from the bar's doors,
leaving Mu Qianyu completely speechless.
She stamped her foot in frustration. This Su Nuji, he took my deposit but won't do the job.
He's an even bigger jerk than they say.
At the penthouse of Queen Bar, 3 girls were grinning from ear to ear. It wasn't every day they ran into a rich young master with such terrible card skills.
They won a massive amount of cash every single round. But before they could even finish the current hand,
the door was suddenly flung wide open,
and Pang's towering, muscular frame squeezed into the room.
Seeing him, you said in annoyance, Pog, how many times do I have to tell you? Lock before you come in.
Anyway, what did Nu Qianyu say before she left?
Kala replied with a deadpan, serious face. Boss, Nebu said you took her money, but won't do the job.
She said you're an even bigger jerk than they say.
Hearing this, the 3 girls burst into laughter all over again.
But you grumbled. Hey, I'm not the Mu family's son-in-law.
Why on earth should I meddle in this mess? What's in it for me anyway? You then tossed out a card and called 3 of characters. Hoo-hoo, we won! We won!
The 3 girls pushed their cards down in unison.
Q. Thank you, Master Su. A triple hit. I just lost to all 3 of them at once.
The 3 girls left, absolutely thrilled, clutching the money they won. Just then,
a woman wearing a chalzem walked in and said, Boss, I have 2 things to report to you.
First, your aunt, Su Xian, just called me.
You immediately sat up straight, instantly on guard. What did that she-devil say? The trying-clad woman smiled faintly. Your aunt said if you dare to upset Mu Qianyu during your blind date, she will stop bailing out our bar's deficits. Why didn't she tell me sooner? I already pissed Mu Qianyu off, and she stormed out. So now I have to figure out a way to crawl back and suck up to her? Can you be any more shameless?
From the side, Xiaopeng nodded. Boss, you can do it. I believe in you.
You glared at Xiaopeng.
Then you waved your hand dismissively. Spit it out, what's the second thing? Instantly, the woman's expression turned serious.
We caught 3 punks snorting illegal powder in one of our private VIP rooms.
I came to ask for your decision. Hearing this, you smirked playfully. Just break them, as per the usual rules. Why did you bother coming to me for such a minor thing? Is there some hidden complication? The woman nodded. All 3 of them are under 18,
and one of them happens to be Mu Qianyu's cousin, Mu Jifui.
You instantly slapped your thigh and laughed. Perfect! Talk about perfect timing. It's like someone handing me a pillow right when I'm sleepy. I was just worrying about how to get back into Mu Qianyu's good graces. With that, you immediately dialed a number. You put it straight on speakerphone.
Soon, Mu Qianyu's chilly voice came through. Well, young Master Su, what made you think of calling me?
Did you finally find your conscience and decide to pay me back?
You chuckled. How's your relationship with your cousin, Mu Jihei?
Not great.
We're practically at each other's throats. You just made a fortune off of me, young Master Su. Shouldn't you be busy battling beautiful women right now? Why do you have the leisure to ask about this?
Looking at the messy mahjong table,
You smirked and said, the battle just ended.
Bu Qingyu smirked mockingly. That fast?
Faku. You almost choked on your own spit. Taking a few seconds to recover, you said, Moshifrey and a few guys are snorting illegal powder at my club. I'm about to break one of their legs before handing them over to the police. What do you think? Bu Qianyu froze for a second. Then, her tone suddenly shifted. Thanks for asking me first, but my family can't control him anyway. You make the call.
At that, your smile grows even wider.
After all, you are gorgeous.
And I always show a little extra respect to beautiful women.
Who can you go silent for 2 seconds before asking? If Fujihie and I were on good terms, would you have let him off the hook this time?
You burst out laughing. Miss Mu,
while it is true you might become my girlfriend, on my turf, I make the rules, and absolutely no one breaks them. With that, you hang up the phone directly. You even give yourself a big thumbs up and smirk. That felt completely natural. Perfect score. Seeing this, Yao Peng frowns. Boss, I read in a book that a gentleman should always let the woman hang up first. Hearing this, you snap instantly. That trash book was definitely written by some pathetic simp. Rip it up right now! Just watch and learn from me. All right? Chaparral frowns even deeper. But boss, weren't you just simping a second ago? Your face immediately darkens. Yao Peng, there goes your salary for next month too. Meanwhile, staring at her disconnected phone, Mu Qianyu murmurs to herself. Suku, did you make this call because you're planning to interfere in the Mu family feud? This sudden change of yours, it is way too abrupt. I really can't read you. After tossing and turning in bed for 2.5 hours.
不清廉语是德瓦的月。
So, she grabs her phone and sends a text. Yangshi, are you asleep yet? I really want to talk. Her phone rings instantly. It's Yanshi. Qianyu, I was just about to fall asleep.
But then 3 teenagers with broken legs were dumped right outside our precinct entrance.
So now, sleep is totally out of the window for me. Hearing this, Mu Qinyu frowns. What happened?
Was it a street fight?
Young Sisai's on the other end. No.
It was 3 spoiled rich blots who got high out of their minds and caused a massive scene.
Oh, and by the way, your cousin, Mu Jifree, is one of them.
Wu Zhou quickly explains. Wu Jihui has been living abroad and only came back in the last 2 years.
Honestly, we aren't even close.
Pianxi lowers her voice. Well, the last 2 Mu Jifree was arrested for attempted sexual assault.
He even threatened to have me stripped of my badge.
Honestly, what Su Wuji did this time, it was actually pretty satisfying. Hearing his name, Mu Qianyu froze. After a silence of about 2 seconds, she finally asked, "How do you know Su Wuji did it?"
Paikina smiled faintly and replied, "We go way back. We're old partners."
Mu Qinyu could hardly believe her ears.
Wait, isn't Suwaji just some nightclub owner with mob ties? He brutally assaulted someone, and you guys aren't doing anything about it?
Prakyani gave a soft chuckle. Appearances can be deceiving. The glamorous exterior doesn't always represent justice, and the underbelly of society isn't entirely dark.
Qianyu, you grew up in the Mook family.
You of all people should understand that better than me. To guess the coaching.
Moon Tinyu stood up immediately and said, "Yao Ni,
I have so many questions right now. I'm coming over to talk to you right away."
With that, Mu Qianyu immediately hung up. But just as she was about to pull her car keys out of her bag,
A folded white note slipped out.
Mu Qianyu paused, picking it up to open it.
To her shock, it was an $8 million check. It was the exact same check she had left for Su Wuji earlier. Could he seriously not take the money?
Before Mu Qianyu could wrap her head around it, she received a text. "Don't go out alone tonight.
A girl as beautiful as you, it'd be quite a shame if you ran into trouble."
The sender was none other than Su Wuji.
Wu Qinyu immediately called him back. "Mr. Su, you certainly worry a lot, don't you?" Su Wuji replied lazily on the other end. "I only worry because you're beautiful.
That's the only reason I'm warning you. Just do as I say."
Mu Qianyu's eyes fluttered shut for a moment.
She couldn't help but think of the escalating conflicts within her family lately. She knew her grandfather trusted her deeply, but that meant her cousins, who were all hungry for power, would surely paint a massive target on her back. They might even resort to desperate, violent measures sooner than expected. With that thought in mind,
She found herself dropping the car keys back into her bag, almost instinctively. "Thank you, Mr. Su," she said.
"You're surprisingly kind. By the way, why didn't you keep the check?" Ta chuckled over the phone. "Why bring up money?"
"I'm not that shallow."
Mu Qianyu frowned. "You certainly are a man of class, Mr. Su, but let me warn you, your people beat up Mu Jihui. My 5th uncle is never going to let this slide." Hearing this, he let out an indifferent laugh. "Knowing you're worried about me, Miss Mu, actually makes me pretty happy. You, Linzhou's #1 beauty, really are as kind-hearted as you are beautiful." But before he could even finish this flirtatious remark, all 6 people from that drug ring had already had their limbs shattered and were thrown straight into the Linnan River.
Xiaopao, when are you going to learn to knock?
What if I was doing something extremely private? Or worse?
"I'm literally on the phone with your future sister-in-law right now." The call hung up abruptly over his frantic, angry roars. This left Mu Qianyu not knowing whether to laugh or cry. But very quickly, her expression turned dead serious.
There have always been rumors about how violent and ruthless you are in Lenzhou.
And this time, she had finally heard the truth with her own ears. 6 people got their limbs shattered and were tossed into the rough, turbulent waters of the Linnan River. How could anyone possibly survive that? And in just 2 short hours, he managed to root out 6 major drug suppliers. Is that even real? Even the narcotics cops in Lenzhou couldn't pull off that kind of efficiency.
Mu Qianyu clutched her blanket and lay down.
But her mind was in such a mess that sleep wouldn't come.
"Qianyu, I've been running around all night."
Your 5th aunt Shen Choi pointed right at the deputy chief's nose and screamed at him for a whole hour. She's already taken Yu Jui to the hospital for surgery now.
越境有谋的大坏，弄谁？狮子宴席。
My 5th aunt is extremely petty and spiteful. You need to watch your back.
Prouncy said dismissively.
We have our police uniforms. They wouldn't dare do anything to us. But Su Wuji is probably going to face the brunt of their anger. After all, those guys had their legs broken right on his turf. At the mention of Su Wuji's name,
顾景明是萨利你挖一位。
and asked cautiously, "Sister Anji, shouldn't we arrest those people who sold the drugs to Bujihi too?" But when we followed the clues over there, we couldn't find a single soul. Hearing this, Machinia's heart skipped a beat. Could those 6 drug dealers really have been thrown into the Linnan River? But even though she was incredibly close with Pianxi, she chose to keep the truth to herself. After all, telling her would be no different from betraying Su Wuji. At that moment, Pianxi, who had just hung up, was sitting in a steamed bun shop. She looked at the young man sitting across the table, casually eating buns, and said with a gentle, teasing scold, "My junior classmate didn't betray you."
"Happy now?"
"I told you a long time ago that Qianyu is absolutely reliable."
"But you insisted on making me test her."
The young man looked at the beautiful woman across from him and grinned sheepishly.
"Oh,
Antsy, you really helped me out again this time. I don't even know how to repay you. Park Hye gently poked your forehead with her finger. Since I'm older than you, call me Sister Yeonhee.
Stop calling me Yeonhee all the time. You quickly shook your head and protested. No way. If I start calling you sister, it's going to be hard for me to chase you.
But Park Hyun-hee wasn't buying it at all. She gently shook her head and said, Wooji, Kanyu is a good girl. You two make a great couple.
You should settle down and make things work with her. At that, you put down your chopsticks and said, that sounds so old-fashioned. That's definitely not how you usually talk.
My dear Anne Sushian must have told you to say this to me.
Park Hyun-hee didn't deny it. Sister Yan picked her out for you, so she must be a great match.
Oh, right. She also asked me to pass a message to you. Today is the 25th anniversary of the Su family establishing themselves in the capital, and the younger generation is expected to go back at noon at Joeman Orthopedic Hospital.
By this time, Mo Ji-hui's leg surgery was over. More than a dozen relatives were gathered there, fussing over him. When Mu Qinyu arrived at the door of the ward and caught a glimpse of her cousin through the crowd,
She froze for a moment.
then she almost burst out laughing, quite heartlessly, because Mu Ji-hee must have been slapped countless times. His face was bruised and swollen like a pig's head. The funniest part was that more than half of his dyed blonde hair had been ripped out, making him look like he had a severe case of patchy baldness. Suppressing her laughter, Mu Qianyu pulled her cousin, Mu Quanri, her fourth uncle's son, out of the room and asked, Quanri, which Yue really took a beating, didn't he?
Muhuanghui usually got along quite well.
Sister Kanyu, Mu Ji-hui's leg was almost completely ruined.
From what I heard, he was even stripped stark naked back then.
Mu Qianyu couldn't help but burst out laughing. That guy really had a unique way of beating people up. But just then, a sharp shriek rang out from inside the ward. Mu Qianyu!
How can you still laugh after getting your cousin into this state?
Hearing this, Mu Qianyu smiled faintly and said, Fifth aunt, what makes you think I did this?
我叫你我，汪美丽服务器是当了怪脸第五期。
And the next minute, he breaks Shuhi's leg.
And you dare say you didn't order him to do it?
You shameless couple!
Faced with such nasty insults, Mukino still smiled and said, Fifth aunt,
When I was on that blind date at the Queen's bar, if I had known Yujifi was doing drugs in his private booth,
I probably would have been the first to call the police.
As soon as those words left her mouth,
the entire room erupted. The family members who had been crowding around Mujiwei's bed, coddling him, instantly backed away. In a flash, Fifth Aunt Chao Wiru shrieked, I don't care what Jiwi did.
he's still just a child.
Ukivyu scoffed, a mocking smile playing on her lips. He's literally 1 month away from turning 18. You still call that a child?
Just then, a lazy voice drifted in from behind her.
Oh, he's still a child?
Then we definitely can't let him off the hook.
Hearing this, Mo Kinyu turned around.
Standing in the hallway were Su Uji and Shuam.
This guy actually had the nerve to show up on his own.
Right at that moment.
For Shufei finally woke up from his anesthesia-induced grogginess.
The moment he opened his eyes, he spotted the main culprits.
He immediately screamed at the top of his lungs.
Su Uji! Mikenyu! You two tortured me and ruined my life.
I'm going to kill you both.
Hearing this, you said in a calm, leisurely voice,
Yapan, it seems this child still doesn't understand how the world works.
He needs to be taught a proper lesson.
You got it, boss.
Shopong pushed past the crowd and marched straight up to the bed.
The Mu family members in the room froze in absolute shock.
None of them could process what was happening.
Su Uji! Chaoru's eyes practically spot fire as she pointed a shaking finger at you two and shrieked, Seize them! Grab them right now!
Before her voice even faded,
several bodyguards in black suits came rushing down. Seeing this, you immediately shielded Mu Kenyu behind you and yelled at the bodyguards. If you want a piece of someone, come at me!
Leave my Kanyu out of this.
She's completely innocent.
我全用萨埃图，我实在就稀怕这些。
she poked you in the lower back with her finger and whispered,
Hey, Mr. Su, aren't you laying it on a bit too thick? We aren't exactly on hero saving the beauty terms yet. You looked back with a cheeky grin and whispered, Come on, a hero saving a damsel in distress needs to build up some dramatic tension.
Cut me some slack. It's my first time doing this.
I'm still getting used to the script.
Suddenly, Shapon ruined the moment by chiming in.
Boss, this is definitely not your first time doing this.
Instantly, face-palming internally, you barked.
Yapan, do you have the death wish?
穆庭烟路，赖到一少桥口。我兵亦浓，龙田亦能为教压入弱，一文蒙悔意了。
She shrieked at the top of her lungs. You, Su, as of today, your bars is shut down for good. My husband will run you out of Linzhou if it's the last thing he does.
And as for Mu Qinyu,
not a single member of the Mu family present thought he was bluffing.
But in the next second, you just casually drawled, Pang.
This woman is way too noisy.
Why haven't you shut her up yet? Peng's massive iron fist slammed squarely into Chao Weiru's face.
Chao Weiru went flying backward, crashing to the ground. The back of her head hit the floor with a sickening thud.
Immediately, Chao Weiru's bodyguards swarmed in,
ready to tear Pang apart. But Mu Qinyu suddenly spoke up, her voice ice cold. I dare you to try. Just a few simple words.
but they carried an overwhelming authority that completely contradicted her delicate frame. The bodyguards froze in their tracks. Then, Qinyu coldly commanded,
Back off. The bodyguards hesitated for a second,
but they didn't dare cross her. They shrank back, retreating all the way to the end of the hallway. You clapped your hands, looking at the Mu family, and smirked. Skisk kisk. Just a little heads up for all of you. If I ever find out that anyone else is bullying Qinyu, I will chop them into 8 pieces. Got it? Pan nodded with a deadly serious face. Yes, boss. I'll remember that.
Cut them into 8 pieces.
You glared at him, utterly exasperated. I wasn't talking to you, idiot.
Then you turn me Kunayu with a grin. Well, Qinyu, since everything's sorted out, I'll head out first.
A soft smile playing on her lips. Go on then, and stop scaring them.
If you keep this up, I won't even be able to invite you over as a guest anymore.
As she spoke, she gently tugged at your arm. The warmth in her voice and gesture felt like the easy intimacy of 2 old friends, leaving you grinning foolishly. But once you reached the hospital entrance, Qinyu stopped, looking at you with a serious gaze. Why did you suddenly decide to help me?
You grinned. Well, obviously because the 5th branch of your family is pure evil.
A handsome hero like me had to step up and deliver some cosmic justice. But Peng just had to ruin the moment, piping up. Boss, that's not what you said on the way here. Watching Su Huji's car disappear into the distance, and a black Mercedes pulled up beside her. Slipping into the back seat, she asked the driver, Uncle Chen.
Any updates on my Uncle Wu?
The driver was wearing a baseball cap and a face mask,
obscuring his face.
Miss Shudong was originally in Guangzhou negotiating a major business deal.
but last night, the moment he heard his son had been beaten, he flew back early this morning. His plane just touched down. Hearing this, Mu Chenyu's lips curled into a faint smile. So, my 5th uncle? Things are about to get a lot more interesting. But Uncle Chen said solemnly, Miss, the master called yesterday and asked me to pass this on to you, even if you don't want to fight for anything. You absolutely cannot back down. Faced with such a massive family empire, no one will ever believe you're willing to just walk away. 2, if you back down, the winners will keep you trampled under their feet forever, and you might not even make it out alive. Hearing this, Mo Qinyu's eyes narrowed. I never planned on backing down. But Uncle Chen, you seem a bit off today. Lei Chen hesitated for a moment before replying. Miss, at 2:30 yesterday morning, I found 2 assassins lurking in your residential garden. Hearing this, Mu Qianyu instantly sat up straight, dangerous, sharp glint flashing in her eyes. Li Qingshan continued. But by the time I found them, they had already been knocked unconscious. All of their limbs were broken. Mu knit her delicate brows. Since they're still alive, we should be able to force some answers out of them. Miss, I already interrogated them. Those 2 used to be rebels from Myanmar. They were paid a fortune to smuggle themselves across the border. Their mission was to kidnap you. They only arrived in Linzhou yesterday afternoon. But while they were scouting the area, a masked man suddenly appeared and broke all their bones. Hearing this, Mu Qianyu's eyes gleamed. Can we find out who this masked man is? The one who helped me?
Ling Qingshan frowned. During the scuffle,
The masked man's back was slashed by a dagger.
that's our only clue.
Right then, Mo Kimyo suddenly thought of your phone call from last night.
She murmured softly to herself. Was it you? Snapping back to reality, Mu Qinyu shook her head. It's nothing.
Then, she called Park Yini. Sister Yuni, do you have some time? I'd love to catch up. Park Yini's voice came through the line. I'm parked right outside Jiandong Orthopedic Hospital. I took the afternoon off, so I can spend the whole day with you. Mu immediately got out of the car, waved to a domestic SUV parked in the distance, then turned to Li Chinken and said, Uncle Chen, just follow behind in your car. Li Qingshan nodded. Once Bu Chanyu closed the car door, he finally made an overseas call. Sir, there's something I need to report to you. Mei Anbing's voice came through. All right, go ahead. Hey.
素书学，玉批评的你扛着。
Li Qingshan was instantly speechless. Wasn't the master supposed to be recovering from his illness? Why on earth was he playing cards? Still, he explained last night's events in detail.
To his surprise, Meng Yanming replied nonchalantly. Oh, is that it? It's no big deal.
With Su Wuji there, there's nothing to worry about. He's Su Mushin's nephew, after all.
疯传是劳保系全京中的大官。
老某，董一们贴米社道长了。
What kind of garbage name did my bastard brother give his son? It makes him sound like he's in the same generation as me. He did it on purpose, just to take advantage of me. What use is a straight flush anyway? I've got 6 aces. Boom! Half an hour later,
Park Yin brought Mu Chenyu back to a place.
it was an upscale villa district in Lanzhou.
The moment Mu Qinyu walked through the door, she couldn't help but sigh. Yanhe.
You can't even buy a house like this with money anymore.
Park Yin-hee chuckled. An older friend of mine is letting me stay here.
If I had to rely on my own salary, I couldn't even afford the rent. Just then, a shirtless guy stood on the 2nd floor, unraveling bandages from his body while complaining, Yin-hee, you're back at the perfect time. I got into a fight last night and ended up with a wound on my back. Hurry up and help me apply some medicine. Out.
It hurts like hell. If it weren't for that idiot Mu Chanyu. In the next second, his gaze drifted downward, and he froze as he saw the girl in the white dress sitting on the living room sofa. The words died in his throat. Meanwhile, hearing that he was injured, Park Yuni immediately rushed upstairs, saying, "You're hurt? How bad is it?" Who did this? Even with Mu Qinyu's sharp wit, she was completely stunned and couldn't process what was happening.
Why is Suuji inside Senior Yuni's house?
And he just said he got hurt last night.
In an instant, everything clicked in Mu Jinyu's mind like a sudden, explosive bolt of lightning. She immediately stood up and quickly followed them upstairs. But by then, you've already grabbed Park Yin-hee, who ran upstairs first, and dragged her right into the bedroom. Slamming the door shut, you pin her against the wall with one hand and whisper, "Yan-hee. Oh, Yan-hee.
You knew damn well I might show up today.
So you brought Mu Chenyu here on purpose, didn't you?" Park Yin-hee quickly pushes you back and asks, "You didn't say a word about being hurt during breakfast. Let me see how bad it is." You chuckle, acting like it's nothing. "It's just a tiny scratch.
It's not like you haven't seen me bleeding before."
What's the matter? Worried about me?"
Blush creeps up Yenny-his cheeks.
"Stop talking nonsense," she mutters. "I'm older than you, remember? You didn't even call me big sister. Now go lie down. Let me put some medicine on that." Or do you want me to call Sister Chuan and tell her? The moment you hear her threat to snitch, you obediently crawl onto the bed and lie face down. But just as she's about to apply the ointment,
Mu Qinyu's voice suddenly rings out from the hallway. Hey, my blind date and my favorite upperclassmen are locking themselves in a bedroom right in front of my face? What exactly are you two doing in there?
she deliberately pauses for 2 seconds, before finally pushing the door open and walking in.
Yun-hee looks at the frozen Qianyu and quickly says, "Qianyu, I'm just putting some medicine on Wuji's wound."
Don't misunderstand. Wuji and we're not what you think. Hearing this, your lip twitches.
Why does she sound like a mistress caught in the act, frantically explaining herself to the wife?
Sure enough, Chanyu stares at the gash and asks coldly, "That's a deep cut. Why didn't you go to the hospital for stitches?" You reply with your usual smugness. "No way.
I'll leave a scar. I have to use my secret recipe to keep my skin flawless."
Meanwhile, Yuni opens the medical kit and pulls out a clear bottle of rubbing alcohol. Seeing this, Chanyu takes 2 steps forward,
Snatches the bottle from her hands and says, "Let me do it."
Yoher freezes, surprised. You? Even you are caught off guard. You grin and tease. "Chinyu, are you really that worried about me? Be careful, or you'll make my heart flutter."
Chanyu knows you're flirting completely.
Instead, she asks, "Alcohol is going to sting."
"Aren't you using iodine?"
You grin through the pain. Hydidine ruins the powder's effect. To keep my baby's smooth skin, I just have to suck it up. But as Chanyu carefully packs the powder into the wound,
Your hair is instantly soaked with sweat.
and beads of cold sweat cover your entire back.
Who the hell did you get into a fight with? She asks.
I can't believe they hurt you this badly.
You grin and say, "Come on, when we're fighting for territory and women, we use real weapons. This little trash is nothing."
It's as easy as breathing. Wu Qinyu doesn't say a word. She just lowers her eyes, tying the bandage into a perfect little bow.
You grin and ask, "Well, what do you think? Compared to a real man like me, don't those spoiled rich boys in your family look pathetic?"
This time, Mu Qiyu doesn't talk back.
She just sits by the bed and softly mumbles, "Yeah,
They really are pathetic.
By the time they head back down to the first floor living room, Mu Chengyu's face is slightly flushed.
She's unusually quiet.
Clearly, lost in thought.
Right then,
Her phone suddenly rings. It's her uncle, Mushano. Qinyu, there's a family meeting at the ancestral mansion in Wanhao. You must be there. Brace yourself.
我想一孩子。
Stands up and says, "Sister Yang-si, I have to go." The point is, we're having an emergency family meeting. But this time, Mo Chanyu won't just be facing the useless kid she saw at the hospital.
she's about to deal with a den of cunning, ruthless old foxes.
You quickly stand up and say, "Hey, this is the perfect chance to play the hero and save the damsel in distress. Let me go with you."
Mu Chenyu chuckles softly. No need.
I can handle myself. I'm not some helpless, naive little girl. You stare at her breathtakingly beautiful face,
Smacking your lips. Well, I don't know about the naive part.
but you definitely look fair and sweet.
我将留书几国。
Then smiles faintly. Save your breath and focus on recovering. After saying goodbye, the first thing Mu Qianyu does when she gets in her car is open her phone and send a text. You must have seen the entire fight last night.
What do you think of him?
As it turns out, Mu Qianyu has had a secret protector watching over her all along.
Her driver Li Qingshan seems completely clueless about this.
A reply flashes across her screen. He's good.
Worthy of a spot on your chessboard.
Peking Yu stared at this comment,
Fab smile, playing on her lips.
forming a breathtakingly beautiful smile.
Meanwhile,
Once Mu Qianyu had left, Yunhee looked at you and asked softly, "I really didn't think anyone in Linzhou could actually hurt you. Who on earth did you fight?"
you sighed helplessly and said, "They were 2 assassins from Maine."
If I hadn't already been nursing some internal injuries, I never would have taken that hit.
Yoni immediately asked with deep concern, "You have internal injuries?"
When did that happen?
Without giving you a choice,
She pulled your hand onto her lap, her fingers gently pressing against your pulse. 1 minute later, Yunhee muttered pensively. Your pulse is indeed quite heavy, and your lungs seem to have sustained some damage. It's going to take some time to recover.
But your heart rate is completely abnormal.
Why is it racing so fast? Smiling, you look down at your right hand. You put my hand right on your thigh and pressed it so close.
How could my heart not be racing?
We are talking about your injuries here.
Stop fooling around, she snapped. You chuckled and replied. Before I left home, my old man tossed me a little booklet and told me to mess around with it whenever I had time. Turns out, practicing it a while back ended up giving me these internal injuries. As you spoke, you pulled a crumpled booklet from your pocket and casually tossed it to Yunhee. The South Sea Chronicles. The legendary South Sea Chronicles? Even though it's just a booklet. This is the supreme treasure of traditional Chinese martial arts. And you keep it in this state? You raised an eyebrow and asked, this is a supreme treasure? How come I've never even heard of it? Yumhair carefully smooths out the booklet page by page, saying, rumor has it that when your dad dominated the world, he relied on a quad-edged military bayonet. And this South Sea Chronicles. You gasped in surprise. What? My unreliable old man actually dominated the world? Yunhee was equally surprised. You seriously didn't know about any of this? Back when your father was ruling the roost, the Su family had also reached the absolute peak of its power. But to avoid attracting too much unwanted attention, Elder Master Su ordered the entire family to withdraw from the capital. And any stories related to the Su family have been wiped clean from the internet. The younger generation nowadays barely has any memory of the Su family. You looked deeply annoyed and muttered, here I thought I could have just lived a peaceful life as a wealthy third-generation heir. But when the old man kicked me out of the house, he only left me with $200. Park Yunhee gave a soft smile. Maybe Uncle Su just wanted to test you. And look at you now, still gritting your teeth in anger. He just loves throwing all these ridiculous random tasks at me. He just wants to see me make a fool of myself. That's all. If I'd known that worthless book was actually worth a fortune back then, I would have sold it for a massive fortune. Park Yunhee caught the underlying meaning in your words and asked, so your decision to help Chen Yu, was that Uncle Su's idea too? You shook your head. Not just that, another reason is my aunt told me to keep her happy, or she'll cut off my allowance. Amused and exasperated, Park Yunhee said, that is classic Sister Yen. But that is definitely not the real reason you are getting involved with the Mu family. Suddenly a flash of cold fury filled your eyes as you said, there is another reason. According to the intel I got, someone in the capital has their eyes on Mu Chenyu, and I happen to need an opportunity to make the capital remember the Su family. Hearing this, Park Yunhee sat up straight, emphasizing every single word, she said. Not just the capital, but all of Huaxia. After a moment of silence, you said weakly, man, I really do not want to carry such a heavy burden. Park Yunhee looked at you with soft eyes and said, I can give you a little push from behind to help you out. Push me from behind? Hearing those words, heaven knows what crossed your mind. You smirked, your smile turning a bit suggestive. Instantly snapping out of it, you looked at her beautiful face and joked, so if I go help you can, won't you get jealous? Park Yunhee smiled gently. Seeing you find such a beautiful sister-in-law, I couldn't be happier. But you smirked and said, she is gorgeous indeed, but right now, we are just using each other, nothing more. Then, you made a call. Chow Pang, get me a sturdy car. We leave in half an hour. We are going to crush the Mu family. Chow Pang repeated the order, emphasizing every single word. Got it. Boss, consider the mission accomplished. We will crush the Mu family with a sturdy car. 23 minutes later, standing at the entrance, you called Xiao Pang again. The half hour is almost up. Where is the car? Why are you not here to pick me up yet?
Founding, 下班赛. Boss.
Could you walk over to the gates of the community? The security guards won't let this car in. They won't even open the gate. You shoved your hands into your pockets and strolled right on over to the gates of the villa community. But the moment you saw the scene waiting outside, your eyes nearly popped out of your head. This is the ride you got me? Xiao Pao nodded with a deadly serious face. Boss, you said you wanted a sturdy vehicle. You stared at the mechanical giant in front of you. Its tires were literally taller than you. Gritting your teeth, you hissed. Isn't this a bit too damn sturdy? Parked right in front of you was a massive, towering Scania heavy-duty truck. And to top it off, the damn thing was fully customized. There were even 2 excavators trailing right behind it, face darkening with sheer frustration. You roared, "Ya Pang!" When other guys play the hero to save the girl, they ride white horses or drive luxury sports cars. But you want me to roll up in a heavy truck and a couple of excavators? But Shapang just looked at you with deadpan sincerity. Boss, the 2 excavators working at the same time. We should be able to completely flatten the Mu family estate in less than 2 hours. You raised your arm and weakly patted him on the shoulder. Why didn't you just call in 100 excavators while you were at it? Wouldn't that be even faster? Hearing this, Ya Peng immediately pulled out his phone and dialed Manager Yao, the leggy female manager of the Empress Bar. Manager Xiao, the boss said we're just Shono-mighty excavators. Hurry up and dispatch them. You immediately stumbled, nearly face-planting. On the spot,
Yu shot Xiepeng a ferocious glare.
climbed up into the heavy truck's driver's seat with a scowling face and fired up the engine.
Slamming your foot down on the gas, the Scania heavy truck roared to life and thundered away. Seeing this, Yapeng chased after it, shouting from behind, "Muff! I'm not in the truck yet."
Not in the truck yet? Your voice echoed through the deafening roar of the engine.
Xiaopeng, we divide and conquer. I'm heading to the Mu family's ancestral home.
And you go find Mu Jiwei.
Xiaoran poked onto an excavator, shouting back with absolute murderous intent.
Understand? Once I find him, I'll chop him into 8 pieces.
He still remembered that exact order.
You leaned your head out of the cabin window
And screamed at the top of your lungs.
Chop him into what, you idiot?
Just grab him by the ear and drag his ass over to the Mu estate.
However, because this heavy truck was making such a deafening racket, who knows if Shaban actually heard you?
Now, this girl was originally the #1 beauty in Linzhou, but her family elders threatened and forced her into an arranged marriage with some rich heir. Such was the ultimate fate of a daughter born into a wealthy family.
But just as she refused to submit and prepared to fight back,
Suddenly, a massive Scania heavy truck smashed right through the courtyard wall and barged into the ancestral home with absolute wild arrogance. In an instant, every single person there was frozen in absolute shock. The truck driver was completely wasted.
Meanwhile, sitting in the cab, you complain, what kind of crappy estate has roads this damn narrow?
So, you slam your foot on the gas.
instantly, the heavy truck lets out an even more deafening roar,
With your hand jammed on the horn, you crash straight into a beautifully crafted courtyard.
ruthlessly crushing every single flower pot in sight. This chaotic scene sends everyone into a blind panic, terrified of being crushed to death.
Only Mu Qingyu stands there, completely calm.
His eyes are fixed on the young man in the driver's seat.
A subtle trace of warmth in his eyes. Once the massive truck finishes tearing through the bonsai garden,
It crashes straight into the family council hall. The driver's window rolls down.
and you flash a peace sign in Mu Chanyu.
Seeing this cheesy gesture, a smirk plays on his lips as he flashes a thumbs up in return.
At this moment, the Mu family's historic estate, preserved for hundreds of years, lies in absolute ruins because of the heavy truck. Yet, you casually hop down from the cab and yell to Mu Chanyu, "Hey,
I'm not late, am I?
Bukeni's sofa. Actually, you're early.
I haven't even had the chance to show off yet."
In truth, he had prepared a whole stack of leverage to deal with the family elders. But before he could even use them, you came in like a wrecking ball, catching everyone completely off guard. Your crude, brute force methods leave the Panput Mu family members utterly speechless. You pat Mu Chenyu on the shoulder and say, "Well, why don't you go ahead and show off now?" Then, you point your other hand at the dust-covered, disheveled Mu family members. "Dad, go on, say a few words. It's fine. And if anyone dares to step out of line, I'll just run them over with my truck." But the moment your finger points in someone's direction,
They instinctively take a step back. Many don't even dare to look you in the eye.
terrified of catching the attention of a lunatic like you, beside himself with rage, Fifth Uncle screams, "Bodyguards! Get him! Grab him right now!" Seeing this, you give a playful, mocking laugh. "Are you sure about that?" Instantaneously, a dark sense of dread washes over Mu Judong. He suddenly remembers that his own son is still missing.
Just as Mu Chudong is about to speak,
Suddenly, a deafening rumble echoes from outside the courtyard walls.
Everyone whips their heads around toward the sound. They look up to see dozens of excavators raising their massive metal arms, slamming them down onto the courtyard walls. Instantly, a thick cloud of dust erupts into the air. Seeing this, Mu Chanyu slaps his forehead in disbelief. I am seriously never inviting you over as a guest again.
"You're literally demolishing the entire Mu family ancestral home," you smirked and said. "Actually, I was planning to send 50 excavators to tear up the Mu family's ancestral graves. But then I thought about it and realized that wouldn't be very nice to you."
Bu Qingyu looked at the massive demolition crew and said helplessly,
"Well, thank you so much."
You waved your hand and chuckled. "Hey, we're family. Don't mention it."
Just then, a large excavator rumbled across the ruins and finally ground to a halt right next to you. The cabin door swung open, and a long-legged woman in a cheongsam jumped down. She was none other than Zhao Yingli, the manager of the Queen Bar. The Mu family members on the scene were instantly stunned by the sight.
anyone who frequented Linzhou's nightlife knew
That this woman was absolutely not to be messed with.
most of the time,
If a conflict broke out at the Queen Bar, Sha Yulei only had to show her face to completely shut down any troublemakers.
now Sha Yinlei walked gracefully over to you and said, "Boss,
The notice was too short. 100 excavators were a bit hard to track down on such short notice. Right now, I've only managed to mobilize 60. We waved off her concern and said, "That's plenty. Tell the rest they don't need to come. We wouldn't want to scare these cowards to death."
Suddenly, 下英来攻团的母亲有原亚是，一是的雷地 boss OK。
Hearing this, you clapped your hands and grinned. Great choice of words. You're getting a raise when we get back. Instantly, lines of frustration washed over Mu Kanyu's face, and she was left utterly speechless. Meanwhile, Mu Yushigong finally snapped out of his shock. He pointed a trembling finger at you and roared, "Grab him! Don't let this bastard cause any more chaos." Instantly, a squad of bodyguards rushed out, cautiously trying to encircle you.
Seeing this, you scoffed with utter disdain.
You gestured to Xiao Yinglei and commanded,
tear the entire Mu mansion to the ground.
Instantly, the 60 excavators roared to life once more, their massive mechanical arms raised high into the air. At the sight of this, the bodyguards froze right in their tracks. Not a single soul dared to make another move.
Faced with such a blunt, brutal show of force, Moche
Felt an unprecedented wave of sheer powerlessness wash over him.
So Uji, hand over my son.
And I can pretend none of this ever happened today.
Just then,
An off-road vehicle violently crashed through the gap in the broken wall, barreled right into the center of the grounds. Then, the car door flew open.
Xiaoprong squeezed his massive frame out of the car. Stop pulling! Oh, it hurts.
As he got out of the car, he dragged a man with a bandaged leg out with him. It was none other than Mu Jifui.
Seeing this, you raised an eyebrow and asked, Xiaopong?
Why are you taking it out on Mujiri's ear?
Xiaopong dragged Mujiwi along and said, Boss,
You're the one who told me to grab him by the ear and bring him over.
Oh, is that so? Well, it looks pretty ugly with only half an ear left.
Why don't you just rip both of them off? Uchiwa's face was covered in blood, screaming his head off, barely sounding human anymore. The other bodyguards watched, but none of them dared to make a single move,
terrified of provoking you, and having you kill Mujifui right then and there.
Beside you, Mu Qinyu massaged her temples. This is a bit too bloody.
You grinned. You get used to it, but if you don't like it, I can take it slow.
Mu Qinyu gently touched her forehead and said, I can adapt to it over time.
You just keep doing what you're doing. At this point, Mu Shadong finally snapped.
Suju, what on earth do you want?
Hearing this, you stepped directly on Nu Jihee's chest, grinned, and said, to settle things with you all for Chanyu, of course?
Isn't your family choosing some representative for the younger generation?
I propose that Chanyu takes the role, but said my piece.
Who supports me and who opposes me?
Normally, the fight for leadership of the Mu family
Would drag on for at least 1 year or more.
But with you here, you're fast-forwarding straight to the series finale.
Resentment and defiance flared in the eyes of many present, but on the surface, no one dared to utter a single word.
Seeing this, you grinned. Looks like we have a unanimous agreement. Just then, Mushto barked.
If you use brute force to seize this position,
Then even if Chanyu becomes the family head, she will never gain anyone's respect.
You glanced sideways at him and snorted.
Listen here, Mu the Fifth.
If you guys hadn't pushed Chenyu into a corner, would I have resorted to violence?
if anyone dares to object again today, I will ship your son off to Thailand to perform as a cabaret dancer.
Instantly, Mu Shudong's face turned livid and he shut his mouth tight.
you didn't know whether to laugh or cry when she saw this.
She tugged at your arm and said, hey, how about you let me show them what I've got? You burst out laughing and said, of course you can. When a man and a woman team up,
No job is too tough. Bacon Yu glanced down at her cousin, who was pinned underfoot, and said, let's let Rujiwi go first. Give him back to them.
Li Wenjiang didn't even bother asking why she wanted to let him go.
he just grabbed Nu Jifui by the arm and flung him away. Mi Shufei flew several meters through the air, crashing hard onto the ground. His head slammed against the floor, leaving a nasty, bleeding gash. Seeing his son finally freed,
Mo Shudong let out a massive sigh of relief.
A severed ear could be sewn back on.
as long as his boy was still breathing.
Honestly, if Mu Chanyu had kept Wu Jifui hostage, it would have given her major leverage in the battle for the inheritance.
But she chose to let him go.
Anyway,
Watching this, you almost wanted to stand up and applaud.
this girl was brilliant.
On the surface, she was taking a step back, but in reality, she was setting herself up to take a massive leap forward. Right then,
Mo Shugong glared at his niece and growled, Mo Qianyu,
You will take full responsibility for what happened to the Moon family today. But since you had the decency to release Juhi, we can put an end to this farce for now.
He was backing down, but deep down, he wanted nothing more than to tear you to pieces.
But he knew he was completely outmatched right now. If he wanted revenge, he would have to bide his time. Hearing this, Mu Qinyu found it hilarious. A smirk played on her lips as she replied, But I never said I agreed to end this. When these hypocrites were attacking her, they were so full of self-righteousness.
Now that they're losing, they want to call a truce? What a joke. Hearing her words, you couldn't help but smile. Mukuryu's ruthless style was exactly to your liking. By now, a cold dread was creeping up Mu Sudong's spine.
Feeling completely powerless, he stammered, Mo Qianyu, I advise you to quit while you're ahead.
But Mu Qianyu simply checked her watch, smiled, and said, Fifth uncle, if I'm not mistaken, the federal tax investigation team from the capital has just pulled up to the front doors of Muya Real Estate. The tax department? What did you do?
In an instant, Mu Shudong realized exactly what was happening. Right on cue, his phone started ringing off the hook.
it was his secretary, sounding hysterical.
Boss, the tax investigation team just stormed in and sealed off the entire finance department. And they brought the capital's economic crimes unit with them.
Mu Sudong's face went completely pale, and he screamed in absolute rage.
Mo Qianyu!
This is a total betrayal of our family's interests. Back when the housing market was booming,
Mu's real estate was basically a money-printing machine.
So Sudong made an absolute fortune from it.
And even funneled a massive amount of assets overseas through back channels. Let's say, special channels. But over the last 2 years, as the housing market crashed, Mu's real estate business was left with a mountain of bad debt.
If these books are ever made public, it will completely ruin the Mu family's reputation.
Mu Qianyu smiled faintly at the sight and said, Uncle Five, don't talk to me about family interests.
All you need to do is spit back every single cent you pocketed.
Mu Xudong clenched his fist tightly.
He knew that if he actually had to pay back all those back taxes and bad debts,
It would absolutely bleed him dry.
seeing that he remained silent, Mu Qianyu turned to the old man sitting in the head seat and said,
Second grandpa,
Are you guys planning to pay off this debt for Uncle Five?
Liu Kanchang's face turned grim, and he remained silent.
after all, the bad debt from the real estate business was a bottomless pit. Anyone who stepped up to help
Would definitely drag themselves down with him.
With this simple move, Mu Qianyu
Instantly tore their alliance apart.
Second grandpa, the battle for the family head has only just begun.
You better not play favorites like you did today.
That wouldn't be very good for the family, would it? These words were a blatant warning,
完全小这 coincidence that Mu Qianyu 还没就这让钱。
And was simply holding back for now.
Between him and Su Wuji, one was the brains, and the other excelled at causing absolute chaos. They were truly a perfect match.
Then, Vu Qianyu looked around the room, his gaze sweeping across everyone's faces.
He sneered. Over the past few years, the Mu family has been going downhill fast. If our second branch hadn't kept pouring money into this family, do you really think you'd still be living in such luxury? You really have no idea how worthless you actually are.
Confronted with this direct slap in the face,
The elders' faces turned uglier than a funeral.
Butegu glanced at the absolute mess on the floor.
And casually twisted the knife. Oh, and as for the cost of repairing the ancestral home, let's have Uncle Five pay for it. Instantly, Mu Shadong's face turned livid. After all, 1/3 of the entire ancestral estate had collapsed, leaving many precious landscapes shattered into pieces.
to restore it completely would cost an absolute fortune.
Right after that, Mu Qianyu added, "Oh, by the way, this isn't a negotiation." That calm, quiet remark instantly suppressed the entire room. The pressure was so intense, the Mu family elders didn't dare utter a single word. In the end, Mu Qianyu sighed softly and said, "Since nobody has any objections,
Then let's dismiss.
my father is currently recovering abroad. I'm sure he'd hate to see things come to this, even more than I do." Just as the Mu family members were about to leave, a voice suddenly rang out. "Hold on, I didn't say you could leave." Everyone instinctively froze in their tracks. They were all terrified of what kind of trouble you were going to stir up next. You walked right up to the front of the crowd, scanning the room. With a pleasant smile on your face, you asked, "Which one of you is Mu Xiang?" Instantly, everyone's gaze locked onto a young man standing at the very back. That was indeed Mu Xiang, the eldest son of the Mu family's third uncle, and 1 year older than Mu Qianyu. "What do you want with me?"
I didn't say a single bad word about Mu Qianyu during the meeting.
You smirked. "Don't be so tense." Then, you reached your hand out to the side and called, "Zhao Peng." Zhao Peng immediately slapped a tactical baton into your hand.
Without even looking, you frowned. "Change it."
Zhao Peng quickly replaced it with a sharp dagger. Seeing this, Mu Xiang panicked and screamed. "Don't do anything stupid." You grinned coldly. "You had the guts to hire foreign assassins to go after Qianyu, and now you're afraid of me doing something stupid?" Before the words even fully left your mouth, you plunged the dagger straight into Mu Xiang's thigh. Mu moved with terrifying speed, giving the Mu family absolutely no time to react. It wasn't until Mu Xiang collapsed to the ground, screaming in agony, that everyone finally snapped out of it.
A middle-aged man cried out, "No way!"
"That's absolutely impossible. Suji, don't you dare frame Xiang." You glanced at him cold-eyed and drove the knife right into Mu Xiang's other thigh. A spree of fresh blood spurted out. As Mu Xiang shrieked in agony again, he curled up on the floor, shivering violently.
His face turning completely pale from the excruciating pain. Dou Dansheng, seeing his son in such agony,
his eyes bloodshot with rage.
如冷，苏记
"Are you trying to kill him? Do you think you're above the law?"
You glanced at Zhao Pan.
And said casually, "This old bastard is too noisy." Hearing this, Yapeng stepped forward, threw a devastating punch, and slammed it right in the Mu Dongxing's stomach. The third uncle of the Mu family instantly doubled over and fell to his knees, retching violently, unable to utter a single word. At that moment, Mu Qiangyu's sixth aunt, Mo Yunxie, Shili, "Tell Suji to stop. He's going to kill someone."
But Mu Qianyu just stood there.
And said coldly, "Whatever he does, I've got his back."
Hearing this, you grinned and said,
Heh, just for those words, this trip was totally worth it. Right now, not a single soul in the Mu family dared to speak, and no one dared to leave. The dust had finally settled. Ukenehu looked deeply into your eyes and whispered, "Thank you." You waved your hand and smiled. "We're family. No need to be so polite." Ukenehu didn't deny it. Instead, she gently urged, "Go back and rest your injuries. I'll handle things here first, and I'll find you at the Queen Bar tomorrow." Her voice was so soft, forming a stark contrast with her dominant Ice Queen persona for earlier, making you grin from ear to ear. Standing nearby, Sha Yongli immediately beamed and said, "A warm welcome to the boss's wife." You quickly clapped. "Well said, Manager Yao. I'll give you a raise when we get back." But Xiao Peng quickly chimed in.
Boss, the count said we've been broke for ages.
You chuckled and replied, well, if I dock your salary for next year, won't we have money?
Shaban looked at you with a deadpan face. Boss?
No wonder the accountant always says you're terrible at math. You instantly shot back. That's complete BS.
Me, bad at math.
Xiaopan nodded solemnly. Manager Ya said so too.
Instantly, the wide grin on Yao Ingli's face froze.
Watching the three of them bicker like this, Wu Qinyu
Giggled softly from the side. A long-forgotten warmth softened her eyes.
The next night, at 10 o'clock,
Stunning women in revealing outfits were stepping out of various luxury cars, filing into the Cran bar in an endless stream.
木抢六人情阵，是对塞呆在在的哭了。
but they didn't go inside right away.
Uncle Chen, did you hear any news about the situation in Myanmar?
The Shendo police were incredibly efficient with their cross-border arrest.
Li Qingshen frowned and said,
I heard it was done by an international mercenary squad. They were originally on a counterinsurgency mission for the Myanmar government.
The entire team suddenly pulled out to hunt down everyone involved in the Mu Ziyang case.
Wu Qunam was silent for a moment before asking, if we wanted to hire this mercenary squad for a mission, how much would it cost?
Li Qingshen thought about it and said, it depends on the difficulty of the mission.
But their booking fee is extremely high.
It's at least $300,000, minimum.
Wu Qinyu smiled faintly upon hearing this and said, then let's arrange it.
Transfer $300,000 into the Queen Bar's account. Actually, no.
Make it a direct transfer of $1 million. After all, he's been short on cash lately. With that, she walked inside.
Li Qingshen sighed emotionally. Yeah.
Su Huju is Suri's son, after all.
His connections abroad must be just as legendary.
Ever again, you reached the doors.
The long-legged manager, Yao Yingli, was already waiting. Lady boss, you're here.
The boss and Little Pang went out to handle some business and aren't back yet.
Mikanyu didn't bother to correct his choice of words. She just smiled faintly and said, I knew he wouldn't stay put and nurse his wounds.
I'll wait for him then.
Outrunning quickly stepped aside and gestured. Please, follow me to the VIP lounge, lady boss.
Lutrina looked around the bars and said, I'll just sit anywhere.
I'll grab a drink and unwind. Truth be told, she actually wanted to get a feel for this bars. And even more, to learn more about its owner. Whatever you say, lady boss.
Cao Yiling brought her a light drink and headed back up to the second floor.
There. He spotted a few girls in bodycon skirts who often played mahjong there.
Walking into the bars,
Xiao Yingli turned to the security guards behind him and sternly instructed,
tell those wild girls,
no one is allowed to get near the boss tonight. If they ruin the lady boss's mood, I'll break their legs.
Meanwhile, Mo Qinyu sat on a small sofa, sipping her fruit wine.
She used to find this kind of deafening music hard to tolerate. But after surviving such a chaotic and exhausting day, she finally felt an indescribable sense of relief. Just then,
Lukino suddenly heard a girl asking the security guard, excuse me, does Sunji work here?
The guard sized the girl up and said, why don't you find a place to sit and wait? But I can't guarantee you'll get to see him. There are tons of girls looking for our boss every single day.
Surprised, the girl asked, Wuji is the boss here?
He told me he was just a security guard at Queen Bar. Hearing this, Mu Qinyu almost spat out her drink. Unbelievable. Does Su Wuji seriously have to hit on even such an innocent-looking girl? The two security guards exchanged a look. Both of them figured their boss had used a fake identity to hit on her.
One of them said, Miss, how about you leave your number?
We'll let you know as soon as the boss gets here. After all, the official boss lady was supposed to inspect the place tonight. If this girl actually had some sort of fling with their boss, things were going to get very messy, very fast. The girl thought about it for a moment, then said, all right, I'll just wait over there.
She carried her backpack over and quietly stood in the corner.
Suddenly, Mu Qinyu realized that maybe things weren't quite what she had imagined.
She noticed the girl's eyes were incredibly clear and innocent, not like someone who had been heartbroken or scammed by Su Wuji. But just as she was about to walk over to ask her, Su Jushi suddenly walked through the door. He'd announced with a fierce look, Yao Yinlei is bringing his men to take over Eastern Beauty. Starting tonight, that club belongs to us.
Lu Qingyao was quite surprised to hear this.
Eastern Beauty was a newly opened high-end business club. Rumor had it that the major shareholder was Bai Xiang, a powerful heir from the capital. She hadn't expected Su Wuji to be so bold, snatching such a juicy piece of meat right out of that wealthy heir's mouth. Right at that moment, the girl who had been standing quietly in the dark corner suddenly ran up to Su Wuji and called out, Wuji! The two security guards immediately blocked her, saying, Miss, please stay back. Fu Shu also quickly took 2 steps back in retreat. Frowning, he said, whoa, wait a minute, little sister. We don't even know each other. I've never done anything to you, so please don't try to pin anything on me. To anyone else listening, his words immediately painted the perfect picture of a heartless playboy who abandons a girl after getting what he wants. Hearing this, a playful smirk appeared on Mu Chanyu's face. She murmured softly, what perfect timing. Now I get to see exactly how much of a playboy you really are. Meanwhile, Su Wuji was still taking steps back. Look, miss, I'm really not the type to sleep with a girl and then play dumb. Wait, no, I've never even taken my pants off around you. The girl pulled a stack of letters out of her backpack and said, Brother Wuji, I'm Songzi Yu. Look, These are all the letters you wrote back to me. You stared at her for a few moments before asking hesitantly, "Are you that little girl from Liaoshuan's?"
You've grown so much.
Song Jiyu immediately giggled and said, "Yes."
Brother Wuji, I got into Lingjiang University. Today's my first day of military training.
By now, a crowd of curious girls had gathered around to watch the drama.
But even though they were glamorous and sexy,
Compared to Song Jiyu, who exuded pure simplicity from head to toe, they instantly
Paled in comparison and looked like cheap, basic girls.
Then Kyo froze for a second when he heard this.
So it wasn't a lover's quarrel after all.
Even with his mind racing through 100 different scenarios, he had never once thought of charity sponsorship.
You scratched your head and laughed.
I've been so busy lately.
I didn't even know you got into Lingjiang University.
Congratulations.
But your Hao, standing beside you, immediately exposed you. Boss, before the semester even started, you had the finance department make an anonymous donation to Lingjiang University
To cover the living expenses of all the underprivileged freshmen.
and you even told the school administration to look out for Song Jiu.
Irritated, you kicked him and snapped,
Oh, so you've got a great memory, huh? Did I say you could speak?
Song Jiu burst out laughing.
but in the next second, her eyes welled up with tears.
Tears began streaming down her face.
Inside the penthouse suite of Queen's Bar,
我吞饮物桑句，也吸进俺的说法。
though the latter was clearly feeling very tense and awkward.
Sitting together, the two of them looked like two flowers in full bloom.
One was a noble, elegant orchid. The other was pure, delicate, and refined.
Both were absolutely breathtaking.
Meanwhile, 笑容磊恩下旁思都好地的在
Seeing how nervous Song Jiu was, Mu Qianyu handed her a glass of water and said, Jiu, have some water. Don't be so nervous. Thank you, sister.
Song Jiu quickly took the glass with both hands.
After taking a small sip, she placed the glass back on the table. Then, as if suddenly remembering something,
She hurriedly opened her backpack and said, "Brother Wuji,
I brought all of these from my hometown.
they're pomegranates and apples from Liangshan."
You hefted the oversized backpack in your hand and frowned slightly. It's so heavy. Did you seriously carry this on your back all the way from Liaoshan to Linzhou by yourself? Song Jiu smiled chandily. It's not that heavy, but you snapped. Don't ever do something so stupid again. Look around you. Is there any kind of fruit you can't buy here in Linzhou?
Instantly, Song Jiyu's expression tensed up, and she squeezed her lugs together even tighter.
Seeing this, Matunyu
Glare at you.
Then, she gently patted the back of Song Jiyu's hand and said, "Your brother Wuji is actually just worried about you."
He just doesn't know how to speak nicely.
Don't let him get to you.
Salju whirred her head and murmured softly in response.
You then picked up an apple and, without even washing it, took a huge bite. Not bad. It's actually really sweet and crisp.
You guys should try some too.
Mo Kanyu also grabbed an apple.
Wiped it casually with the hem of her skirt.
And decisively took a huge bite.
It really is delicious.
Watching this, Song Jiuyu's
Tense expression instantly softened.
and her smile was filled with pure satisfaction. When?
Just then, Yao Yongli walked over, bent down to pick up the entire bag of fruit, and said,
Boss, I'll take these and make a fruit platter. Watching Zhao Yunlei walk away in her high-slit kapao, Mu Chanyu smirked at you and teased. Being around a beauty like manager Yao all day, it must be pretty hard to keep your composure, right? It was hard to tell if she was testing you.
"It is today."
After all, in most people's eyes, the relationship between a lustful male boss and a sexy female subordinate is a no-brainer. You waved your hand dismissively and said,
"Oh, please. Manager Xiao is a bit too ripe.
Someone like you,
Tenyu, is much more my type."
Zhao Yuli, who was just walking out, almost crashed into the doorframe upon hearing this. Mukiniu, ever the realist, chuckled and said, Okay, now you're overreact.
There are no outsiders here.
So you can stop putting on a show?
You took another bite of your apple and grinned. Hey, I'm a total gentleman, okay?
Putin Naju smiled as well.
Then turned to Song Jiyu and asked, "Jiyu, how did you and Wuji meet?"
Hearing this, Song Jiyu's eyes visibly lit up. 4 years ago, when I was in my final year of junior high,
Brother Wuji came to our village to volunteer as a teacher.
if it wasn't for him,
I probably would have dropped out of school to work by now.
Mutinyu gave you a knowing look.
So you went all the way to Liangshan to volunteer teach back then?
That really doesn't sound like you. Song Jiu quickly chimed in. Brother Uji volunteered to teach there for a whole semester. He mostly taught English, and he even filled in as the PE teacher.
He was incredibly popular at our school. Bukinya's eyes filled with even more surprise.
After all, most people who volunteer teach these days are just putting on a show. They stay for a few days and then just leave.
There really aren't many who can stick it out for a whole semester in such a harsh, remote environment.
Besides, if the people of Linzhou found out that this arrogant, violent nightclub playboy was actually once a respected volunteer teacher,
Their jaws would probably hit the floor.
but you just waved your hand dismissively and said,
Oh, come on. I got into some trouble abroad back then.
So my dad shipped me off to Langshan to lay low. Don't go painting me as some kind of saint.
穆青幽都在语部的好像。
Oh, really? It was obvious she didn't believe a single word of that.
Just then, Song Jiyu glanced at the wall clock and said,
Brother Puji, Sister Chanyu,
It's getting late.
The dorm gates lock at 12 o'clock.
I should head back now.
You nodded and said,
All right then, make sure you study hard while you're at school. And when you get that scholarship, remember to buy your grandma some new clothes.
Hearing this, Song Jiu replied seriously.
Don't worry, Brother Wuji.
I'll definitely win that scholarship.
Mu Chengyu suddenly thought of something and asked, Jiu, what did you score on the college entrance exam? Song Jiu quickly replied, 712.
都听您不是硬死领声带，把大说。
With a score like that, she could have easily gone to any top university in the capital. Why on earth did you choose Linzhou University? Sitting beside them, you also wore a look of utter exasperation, right? I told her back then that she was being foolish. She must have lost her mind. Hearing this, Mu Chanyu looked with a knowing smirk at the man who had just claimed he didn't even know Song Jiu got into Linzhou University. Now, he was letting the cat out of the bag over and over again. What Song Jiu just looked at you and said, Linzhou University is great too. It's ranked 3rd in the entire country. Lu Qingyu caught that look in her eyes and instantly understood exactly why she had chosen Linzhou University. Jiu, at this hour, the buses and subways have already stopped running. Let your brother Wuji drive you back. It's not safe for you to go alone in the dark. Right then, Xia Yuli say slicing the fruit platter and brought it over. Hearing this, he was taken aback. Was the boss lady trying to play matchmaker for them? But Song Jiu hurriedly waved her hands, stammering, Sister Chenyu! No, don't worry about it. There's no need to trouble Brother Wuji to drive me. I can just ride a shared bike. What a hassle. It's over 20 kilometers. How long would it take you to ride a bike all that way? Come on, I'll drive you back. Besides, I want to see if there are any pretty underclassmen at your school. Okay. Song Jiu quickly stood up, her eyes curved into beautiful crescents as she smiled, looking incredibly. After you guys went downstairs, Mu Chengyu also prepared to leave. But before stepping out, she turned and asked, Jia Peng, what kind of person do you think your boss is? Xiao Depar pleaded with a deadpan face. Our accountant always tells him, Please, I'm begging you, act like a decent human being for once. Hearing this, Mu Chenyu doubled over with laughter. Her smile instantly brightened the dimly lit room. 2 minutes later, downstairs, a beat-up old Santana rumbled to life. The foul exhaust fumes made the nearby customers choke and back away a few steps. Next to a Mercedes Jaguar Beijing plates, a group of young men were standing around. What year is it anyway? How is that piece of junk still on the road? Is that thing even worth 1,000 yuan? How does he have the nerve to drive that trash to Queen Bar to pick up girls? But then, a young man in a blue suit widened his eyes and gasped, Wait, am I seeing things? Is that girl in the passenger seat of that beat-up Santana Sang Jieyu from our school? The guy next to him looked over and gasped in shock. Young Master Jiang, you're absolutely right. That really looks like our campus belle. Young Master Jiang instantly flicked his cigarette butt onto the ground. He yanked the driver's side door open and barked, Get in, let's follow them. In an instant, the Mercedes G-Wagon and a Porsche Cayenne roared to life and quickly sped after them. Inside the Santana, your current demeanor was completely different. From the playboy persona you put on in front of Mu Chenyu, you didn't show the slightest interest in hitting on the innocent girl sitting next to you. Instead, you just drove and asked quietly, How is your grandmother's health?
Song Jiu looked out and said, Grandma is 71 this year.
Her health isn't what it used to be, but she can still look after herself just fine. Hearing this, you laughed heartily. When I visited 4 years ago, the old lady was incredibly nimble on her feet. She climbed the mountain stairs so fast, even I could barely keep up. Speaking of this, your brow suddenly furrows. The mountain village where Jiyu lived is perched right at the edge of a steep cliff. To get there, you have to climb a grueling, steep slope for over an hour. It's practically a ladder to heaven on a sheer cliff. Yet, Jiyu actually climbed down that terrifying ladder with 40 pounds of fruit on her back. She even carried them all the way to Linzhou.
Tense in your face, you say. Xiu.
Your looks. There'll definitely be plenty of guys chasing you at college. You must keep your eyes wide open before you decide to date anyone. Hearing this, Jiyu smiles softly and says, Brother Wuji, don't worry. I won't date anyone at school. You nod and say, Good, but guys outside of school are off limits too.
Jiyu looks at your profile.
She stays silent, neither agreeing nor disagreeing. Suddenly, you change the subject. Don't come looking for me at the Queen Bar anymore. Is this how most sponsors and their beneficiaries interact when they meet again?
Actually, what Jiyu doesn't realize
is that she is completely different from the 9th grade girl she was 4 years ago. As they say, girls change as they grow up. She has blossomed into a stunning beauty, enough to take all of Linzhou's breath away. Noticing her sudden drop in mood, you frown and say, The bars is a shady place, with all kinds of dangerous people. Fights break out there all the time. It's no place for you to hang out. Okay. Instantly, the hint of sadness in Jiyu's eyes vanishes. She now truly understands what Sister Qianyu meant. Her brother Wuji really does care. He just doesn't know how to speak nicely. 5 hours later, the Santana arrives at Lanzhou University. Getting out of the car, you pop the trunk and pull out a brand new backpack, handing it to Jiu. With a stern face, you say, There's a phone and a laptop inside. If you ever run into any trouble you can't handle, you can call me. Instantly, Jiu's eyes well up with deep emotion. Brother Wuji, I can't accept this. You've already given me so much.
I can buy these myself once I get my scholarship.
A bit impatiently, you shove the backpack into her arms.
Just take it when I tell you to take it.
Without any more fuss, Jiyu stops refusing.
Thank you, Brother Wuji. Looking at her, you see the tears glistening in her eyes, ready to spill over.
You offer a rare, soft smile. We haven't met for a few years, and you're still the same old crybaby. Yu smiles through her tears,
But she will never tell you that.
After you left Liangshan all those years ago,
She cried for days on end.
just then,
a Mercedes G-Wagon came roaring over, screeching to a halt right in front of you.
Zheng Shao jumped out of the driver's seat.
Throwing himself right in front of Song Ji-yu.
He shoved you hard and barked.
Get the hell away!
Stay away from Ju. Right after, 3 guys and a girl climbed out of the car and surrounded you.
seeing this, you weren't angry at all.
You sized the young man up and chuckled. So, you've been tailing me all this way, in a G-Wagon with capital city plates?
Just so you could play the hero rescuing the damsel in distress?
Young Master Zhou looked down his nose at you and sneered. Don't think Jiyu is an easy target just because she's new to the big city.
You really have the balls to drive her around in this piece of trash Santana.
And even think about taking her to the Empress Bar?
Do you have any idea what the minimum spend is for a single night there?
As the owner of the Empress Bar, you were instantly amused by this. What's wrong with me going to the Empress Bar?
Forget about the minimum spend.
Just the phrase, "Tonight, young Master Su pays for everyone's drinks," has echoed inside the Empress Bar more times than I can count.
At this, young Master Jiang shoved you hard again and barked. If you're broke, stop trying to act like a big shot.
Don't you dare come near Jiyu again.
Otherwise, I'll make sure you end up worse off than a beggar on the street.
But the moment his words left his mouth,
相就于朴实很麻西，但失态带切的一条。
Her eyes filled with deep concern.
Brother Wuji, are you okay?
seeing this, young Master Jiang's face instantly twisted with anger.
He snapped.
Dong Jiyu,
Don't be so unmeaningful.
I'm doing this for your own good.
Good glanced at the group and asked indifferently, "Are these idiots your classmates?"
Song Jiayu nodded.
2 of them are in my class. She then turned around, frowning as she said, "Zhang Hobin,
I think you need to apologize."
but before she could even finish her sentence, the tall, heavily built guy next to them cut her off.
Jiu, young Master Jiang is trying to help you out. Hear out of the goodness of his heart. Why are you being so difficult?
I guess you really are just a country bumpkin from the mountains. You have absolutely no class.
Just as Sang Ziyu was about to fire back, only for you to pull her behind your back, saying, "You don't need to say a word here."
相聚于骚喜归。
She looked incredibly sweet and obedient.
Seeing this play out, Zhang Koben,
Glad at you with a dark expression and sneered. "I'm from the capital.
my family pulled strings to get me into Lanzhou University.
Do you even understand what that means?
You just shove your hands into your pockets.
And look at him like he's a total idiot. Oh, so you couldn't actually pass the exams for Linzhou and had to buy your way in through the back door. Your attitude instantly infuriates the group. One of them barks, "How dare you speak to young Master Jiang like that? Apologize to him right now, or you'll regret it."
But you completely ignore them.
Turning, instead to look at the school gates, with that sigh, you murmur, "Seems like quite a few people got in through the back door."
What a shame for such a prestigious school. Above you, the 4 bold, elegant characters reading Linzhou University catch your eye.
Right beside the name is the signature of the calligrapher, Su Yaguo. Seeing this, you whisper to yourself, "Old man,
It's been a long time since I last visited you. Right then, the big burly guy, furious at being ignored, grabs a golf club from his car, points it right at you, and snarls, "Apologize to young Master Jiang right now, or I, Su Jaizaz, will make sure you can never show your face in Linzhou again." Hearing this, you turn to him with a grin. "So, your name is Xu Jaizaz."
is Xu the Sixth your old man?"
Xu Jask sneers. "You think this is funny?"
I'm going to make you get on your knees and beg for mercy in a second. Crash, crash, crash. With a wild swing, he slams the golf club right into the windshield of your Santana.
Instead of getting angry, you just watch.
And calmly pull out your phone to record a video.
Xu Jaizaz couldn't care less, even if you post it online. He has the connections to make it disappear instantly.
Crash, crash!
He rains down over a dozen blows, completely shattering every single window on the Santana.
Sang Chi watches, her heart aching for you.
Having just left her mountain village, the raw arrogance of these students shows her a darker side of the world. Less than 1 minute later,
休假家范蠡少补，盘庭海力。
For someone whose body has been completely ruined by wild nights at the clubs,
All that swinging is practically an exhausting workout.
you look at him with a mocking smirk.
"You done yet?"
Xu Jaizaz raises the golf club threateningly and barks, "If you don't apologize right now, your skull is going to look exactly like that windshield."
Hearing this, Shang Xiyu can't stay quiet any longer, completely ignoring your warning.
She screams out, "Xu Jaizai, stop!"
Stop right there.
Nearby, Zhang Hobin stood with his hands in his pockets, sneering, "Jaza, trash it. Make them regret ever messing with us." Hearing this, Shijaz glared at Song Shiyu and mocked, "Dong Shiyu,
You pathetic hillbilly.
you should be honored that young Master Jiang even looked your way." But clearly,
A peasant like you doesn't know a good thing when it hits him in the face.
The only girl in their group crossed her arms
and sneered with pure malice. Oh, Sang Zhiyu.
Go thinking you're some kind of beauty. Honestly, you're about as tacky as they come. Why don't you go check out the Linzhou Business Club? Take a good look inside that lounge.
The girls lined up there, just waiting to be picked. They are way more classy and stylish than you could ever hope to be.
And trust me, they've actually got real degrees. Unlike you.
Hearing such filthy insults, Songjiu's face flushed bright red with humiliation.
Biting her lips so hard it was almost bleeding.
But at that moment, you simply patted her on the shoulder.
You didn't say a word of comfort.
You didn't even seem like you were going to stand up for her.
Seeing this, Su Jazz figured you were just a spineless coward. He barked at you. Get on your knees and apologize to young Master Jiang right now. Otherwise, don't blame me for what happens next. But you completely ignored him. You just looked down at your phone, chuckled, and said, "Hey, old Six-Yu, did you catch all of that?" Instantly, a trembling middle-aged voice panicked from the speaker. Young Master Su. I saw it. I saw everything. How on earth did I breed such a brainless piece of garbage?
Su Jazz froze, his entire body stiffening. He stuttered. You, are you talking to my dad?
You chuckled softly. Well, old Six-Yu,
Your son just smashed my luxury car. You better start thinking right now about how you're going to pay for this.
Su Jazz burst out laughing.
luxury car? This piece of junk Santano of yours isn't even worth $2,000. How does this garbage count as a luxury car?
But then a furious roar exploded from the phone.
You Jazz, you brainless bastard! Get down on your knees and apologize to young Master Su this instant.
Su Jazz be in utter disbelief. Dad,
You've got the wrong guy, haven't you?
You want me to apologize to this loser?
On the other end, Shu Dongai was practically shaking with rage, utterly losing his mind.
He had begged everyone he knew and pulled every single string imaginable,
Just to squeeze his useless son into Longzhou University.
only for the idiot to offend the absolute most powerful figure on the very first day of school. So he roared in a fury. Shu Jazz, if you can't get young Master Su's forgiveness, don't you dare take another step into this house.
I, Shu Dongai, will act as if I never had a son like you.
The other students were completely dumbfounded when they heard this. They couldn't fathom why the powerful Shi family of Vinzhou was so terrified of a young man driving a beat-up Santana. But Si Jazz just couldn't understand it. He yelled out in confusion.
Dad, why are you taking the side of this pathetic loser?
On the other end of the video call, the middle-aged man closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Young Master Su, please, teach him a lesson however you see fit.
I'll buy a brand new Maybach right now and have it delivered to the Empress Bar.
You simply waved your hand. Forget the car. Just hurry up and withdraw your idiot son from school.
Having him study here only ruins the reputation of Linzhou University.
Hearing this, Shi Jazz lost it. He raised his golf club, jabbed it hard against your chest, and snarled, "Who the hell do you think you are to make me drop out? My studying at Linzhou University is doing this place a favor."
You raised your hand and slapped him hard across the face. Does Linzhou University really need you to do it a favor?
兴许家在给死了，将后本或是在密语班。
Immediately stepped forward and barked, "How dare you assault someone in public?" You snatched the golf club straight out of his hand, casually swung the club, and sneered, "Yeah, I just did."
Instantly, Shu Jazz let out a blood-curdling shriek because the club had landed perfectly.
Slamming right onto his shoulder, the sickening crack of his bone fracturing echoed in everyone's ears, sending a wave of panic through those rich, pampered students.
Meanwhile, as Songji watched the scene unfold, her eyes, previously filled with suppressed rage, suddenly lit up with hope.
On the other hand, Jiang Hoban was starting to lose his nerve.
He glared at you, frowning, and stammered, Do you have any idea what kind of—
You chuckled softly. Honestly, I have no idea. Why don't you enlighten me?
With that, you raised your foot and kicked Jiang Hoban hard in the stomach.
He collapsed to the ground, clutching his gut, and growled, "You bastard. You're dead meat." But you only let out a cold laugh. You better hurry and call your family. Tell them to come to Linzhou and pay their respects.
Otherwise, none of you will have a single peaceful day left in this city.
After saying that, you paused for a moment. Then, you continued with a smirk. "Oh, by the way, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Su Wuji."
Is actually the owner of the Empress Bar.
Right then, the guy with the shattered—
你徐家子，瓶子太旧个铁，回读特进。有速记。
The other rich heirs' faces instantly filled with utter disbelief, but in their minds, they were screaming, "Are you freaking kidding me? A powerful bar's owner who rules the underworld.
Why do you have to drive such a beat-up piece of junk when you're out picking up girls?" Just then, the clicker should have by a difference point in the— Li Qingshen pulled up in a sleek, black Mercedes. "Young Master Su, the young mistress sent me to check on things. I'll take it from here." Hearing this, you waved your hand dismissively. It's just a minor clash. There's no need to trouble you, Uncle Chen. You're my elder. Just call me Wuchi. But Li Qingshen didn't buy that for a second. Please rest assured, young Master Su.
After tonight, the Shi family will be taught a serious lesson.
And as for the others involved, they will all pay dearly. Of course,
Even those from the capital won't be spared.
By now, Zhang Hobin's face was incredibly dark, but no matter how furious and humiliated he felt, he had no choice but to swallow his pride for now.
Meanwhile，席家和酒家、苏家爸回好多忙去。
Because he knew exactly who this man was. The number one fighter of the Mu family. Seeing how insistent Li Qingchen was, you nodded with a smile. All right then, I won't stand on ceremony with you, Uncle Chen.
And please tell Chen you thank you. For me. Hearing this, Li Qingchen gave a wry smile. Young Master Su, you and the young mistress are so close.
You should probably tell her that yourself.
You burst out laughing.
Uncle Chen,
My relationship with Chen Yu isn't what you think.
maybe we'll take things further in the future, but right now, we're just hitching a ride on each other's influence.
Li Qingshan frowned as he looked at you. Is that so? So all that simping you did for our young mistress before was just an act?
But you just grinned. I'll leave this place in your hands then, Uncle Chen.
Jiu, let's go.
I'll walk you back to your dorm.
Zhang Jiu clutched her backpack tightly and nodded.
Her crescent eyes curving with pure joy.
Watching their retreating figures, Li Qingshan curled his lip.
Suddenly, he felt a bit annoyed on Mu Qianyu's behalf. Linjiang University's campus was massive.
By the time you walked Gio back and returned to the school gates,
Li Qingzhen had already left.
And Zhang Holben and Spru had been dragged away.
even the broken glass in the seats of that old Santana had been completely cleared away.
So, you drove that drafty, beat-up piece of junk straight back to the Queen Bar.
The second you pulled up,
Jia Yunga ran right up to you and asked, "Hey, boss,
Are we playing cards today?
should I call those girls in the tight bodycon skirts back over?" You rolled your eyes at her and snapped, "No more cards.
Those little wild cats.
Their skirts are getting shorter by the day. Trying to play cards with them is a joke. I can't even focus with all those legs in my face."
muttering under your breath, you slowly strolled up to your penthouse suite, kicked your feet up on the desk, and closed your eyes.
夏幽英来试退 right behind you.
She walked up behind. Emil. What's on your mind, boss?
Closing your eyes to enjoy the massage, you say.
I just took over the Oriental Pavilion Club, and there are still so many things to sort out.
Xiao Yangming says softly.
Boss, think that to me. I'll get everything sorted.
These seemingly simple words foreshadow the massive difficulties and threats Xia Yunlei is about to face.
After all, that club belongs to several heavy hitters from the capital.
They won't just accept defeat easily.
Actually, most of the time, while you were out there on the front lines, fighting and killing.
It was always Xiao Yuli who followed behind to clean up your mess.
Without this stunning, long-legged beauty, your influence in Lanzhou could never have grown to this level in just 2 years. At this, you grin and say, "You're the real woman behind my success."
Hearing this, Yao Yinglei smiles softly.
And chooses not to take the bait. After resting your eyes for a moment, you ask, between Park Qianyi and Mu Qiganyou, who do you think is more suitable to be the lady of the house? Instantly, a playful glint of gossip flashes in Xia Only's eyes. Boss, why not just choose both?
You immediately open your eyes and say with mock indignation,
Of course not.
"What air do you think we're living in?
A harem? Really?
Your morals are totally warped. I definitely need to lecture you on this."
But Xia Only just says calmly, "Actually, boss, the very fact that you're asking means you already have 2 answers in mind. But I do have a different suggestion. Why not throw Song Jiyu into the mix too? If I was really like that girl." You rub your temples, frowning. How old is Song Jiyu anyway? What do you even see in her?
Zhao Yunlei chuckles. "She's smart, gorgeous, and..." Before he can finish, you snap. "I don't like them that young. Besides, why don't you throw yourself into the mix too?"
Xia Yunli lets out a soft laugh. A playful gleam flickers in his eyes as he says, "I'm just afraid."
"You wouldn't dare, boss."
You immediately snap back righteously. Excuse me? I'm in my absolute prime and bursting with stamina.
Why wouldn't I dare?
Forget it. No more flirting for now. Next, we're focusing on heading all the way north.
Xia Daoyongge took a step forward and asked, "Are you ready to head to the capital?" You grinned and replied, "We're not going back to the capital." Hearing this, the smile on Zhao Yuling's face grew much brighter.
Looks like someone in the capital is going to lose sleep tonight.
Late at night, at an abandoned construction site.
九阳侯本，我没听一个考，大好。
At this moment, his face was bruised and battered.
He looked utterly pathetic. As for the other rich kids, they were in a similar state.
Every single one of them had severe external injuries.
All of it was Li Qingzhen's personal handiwork.
Just then, the call went through. Zhang Haobu managed only a single word before he started choking up, unable to speak. He had never been bullied like this in his entire life.
On the other end of the line, a voice asked with amusement, "Heh, how old are you, Haibo?"
Isn't it embarrassing to cry like this?
Jing Haobin sniffled and roared in anger. "I got beaten up by a bar's owner in Linzhou."
Tonight, he had planned to crush Su Woji's dignity under his boot.
But in the end, he was the one who got trampled. So what if he was the owner of the Empress Bar?
In Zhang Haobin's eyes, the guy was nothing but a low-life local thug. He knew.
So many big shots back in the capital?
Any single one of them could easily crush anyone in Linzhou.
Especially his gorgeous, fiercely protective older sister. She would definitely beat Su Wuji half to death.
But the woman on the phone simply said indifferently, "Then just bear with it for 2 days."
Jiang Hobin was instantly dumbfounded.
What? Sis, you want me to just take this?
The woman replied calmly. Bai Xiang and a few friends invested in a club in Linzhou. It happens to have run into some issues recently. In 2 days, I'll be heading to Linzhou with them.
Jiang Hobin instantly became ecstatic.
Alright, the bastard who beat me up is named Su Wuji.
He's the owner of the Empress Bar. Sis, I'll be waiting for you guys to get revenge for me. When you woke up in your suite, it was already 10 o'clock in the morning.
After freshening up, you walked out of the bedroom shirtless, only to get a sudden fright.
Sitting on the sofa was a girl wearing a white dress. It was actually Mu Qianyu.
Wearing nothing but boxers. Your first instinct was to turn right back around to find a shirt.
But Mu Qianyu put down her magazine and teased. When I was cleaning your wounds, I saw everything anyway.
What's there for you to be shy about anyway?
You stopped in your tracks and smiled sheepishly. Hey, I'm a sensitive guy, okay?
When did you get here? When did you get here?
Mu Qianyu smiled softly. I've been here for an hour already.
Is there someone hidden in your bedroom? You burst out laughing. Well, today's your lucky day.
If you had come any other day, you'd definitely find a few girls hiding under my sheets.
Mu Qianyu smiled gently. Word on the street is that you're a total playboy.
And that you never sleep alone at night.
So did you actually manage to break that habit?
With that, she actually walked straight into the bedroom and scanned the room.
Aside from the unmade bed,
Everything else was remarkably neat. This didn't match the image of a playboy at all.
you followed right behind her, grinning. Well, what do you think?
个亲眼预定的男色。
Instead, she said casually,
Can I drop by more often in the future?
hearing this, you instantly beamed.
Of course. If you come over to play mahjong,
I won't have to keep waiting around for a fourth player.
目前扭春的乱，怒的一边说。
By the way, Xiaopeng has Asperger's, doesn't he?
you pointed to your temple and said, No, he's just an idiot.
Mu Qianyu smiled Jenny. Asperger's is a form of autism.
They struggle with emotional communication.
And can't really read the room.
And the most obvious thing about Xiaopeng is that he simply cannot lie.
You gave her a wary look. So, what did he tell you?
Mu Qianyu's lips curled into a slight smile.
Her eyes shining with a soft, gentle light. Nothing at all, she said.
You instantly looked completely defeated. Groaned. It's over. He definitely even told you the color of my underwear.
母去娘与克等好个丁狗。
Before finally getting down to business.
By the way, could you come with me to the Suzuki Insurance headquarters today?
I need to officially take over the shares.
I have to.
You frowned.
Just the two of us?
Mu Qianyu thought about it for a moment. We can bring Xiaopeng along.
You let out a mischievous chuckle.
Wait, why does this feel like a married couple going out and dragging their goofy kid along with them?
Mu Qianyu didn't say a word.
Her ears started to burn slightly. 30 minutes later.
Ling Insurance headquarters. By now, every single board member had gathered in the conference room. Word on the street was that Mu Qianyu had used some incredibly dirty tricks to snatch those shares from Chairman Nodonsa.
Starting today,
We're going to have a brand new chairman breathing down our necks. There's no way the board is going to vote for her. Any one of us sitting here is 100 times more qualified for the job than Mu Qianyu. Am I right?
worst case scenario, we just throw them out on their faces.
The same brutal force Mu Qianyu used against the Mu family.
We can turn right back around and use it on her. Listening to the chaotic chatter, it was obvious most of them despised the idea of Mu Qianyu taking over.
Linlo Assurance。
Just then, the board secretary and the staff suddenly stood up.
Bukimaoyu led the way, stepping confidently into the conference room.
Meanwhile, you turned to Xiaopeng and ordered, Guard the door. No one gets in without my permission.
Otherwise, break their legs.
Xiaopeng, built like a massive steel tower, blocked the entrance completely.
Understood, boss.
Hearing break their legs, the atmosphere in the conference room instantly turned ice cold.
Mu Qianyu walked up to the head of the table and said coldly, Hello, everyone.
My name is Mu Qianyu, and as of now, I am the largest shareholder of Lingmu Insurance.
Today, the group will elect a new chairman.
One of the board members slammed his fist on the table and barked. This is an absolute joke. Do you think you can just swap out the chairman whenever you feel like it?
I absolutely, 100% refuse.
Mu Qianyu seemed to have anticipated this reaction.
It's sure. If you disagree, you don't have to raise your hand when we vote later.
There's no need to scream so loudly right now.
Jiu Changqi crossed his arms, sneering. Listen up, everyone. Anyone who dares to vote for Mu Qianyu
Is making an enemy out of me.
Standing behind Mu Qianyu, he shot him a glance.
Your look was pure pity, as if you were staring at a complete idiot. Just then,
Another board member, Lu Yashuan, sneered. Miss Mu,
why don't you explain to all of us in detail just what kind of dirty tricks you used to steal those shares from Mu Dongsheng?
Hearing this, Mu Qianyu's brow furrowed slightly. Even though Su Wuji was the one who forced Mu Dongsheng to give up the shares,
It was Mu Dongsheng's son who had hired hitmen first.
So, it was hardly dirty or despicable.
Seeing Mu Qianyu remain silent, you smirked and chimed in. Just talking about it is so boring.
Why don't I give you a little demonstration? Instantly, Liu Lianjuan slammed his hand on the table and roared, Who the hell do you think you are?
since when do you have a say in this room? You just shook your head, slowly sipped your fingers, and called out,
Yapong, show him how it's done. Suddenly, that tower of a man lunged forward. Before anyone could even blink, Yao Pong's massive fist crashed straight into a bodyguard's face. The guard spun out of control, completely losing his footing, and his head slammed violently against the glass wall of the corridor. Crash! The glass shattered, raining shards all over the floor. Covered in blood, the bodyguard slumped to the ground, completely knocked out cold. In an instant, several directors jumped to their feet in utter panic. You gestured with your hands, pressing down the air, and then smirked. Sit down. I said nobody leaves. Unless you want your legs broken.
Liu Yangshuan trembled from head to toe.
Because the bodyguard who had just been knocked out cold was his own. This was a brutal warning to the rest of them, and the rest of the board members were utterly stunned. Never in their entire lives had they seen a board meeting turn into a war zone. With a cold grin, you continued. Now, does anyone else have an objection? Feel free to speak up. I'm a highly democratic man.
Liu Yangshuan clenched his fist and spat out, "You bastard."
You call this crap democratic? Meanwhile, Mukyu Nayu stood by, a faint smile playing on her lips. She hadn't even played her cards yet, and Zhu Wuji had already terrified half the room. Just then, Zhu Changqi, the first director to oppose you, slammed his fist on the table again and barked, "This is outrageous! Call the police, right now! We have an active assault here!" You looked at him and smirked. You call a little scratch like this assault? Xiaoban, show him what a real assault looks like. Instantly, Yapeng took a massive step forward. He raised his heavy boot and kicked out with brutal force. A bodyguard standing 5 meters away was sent flying through the air. By the time he crashed to the ground, he had skidded all the way to the far end of the hallway without missing a beat. Yapeng barged over and hoisted him off the floor like a rag doll. Then, he slammed a devastating punch right into the guard's chest. The impact sent the bodyguard flying backwards, crashing back into the room. He collapsed on the floor, gasping and coughing up blood. God knows how many of his ribs were shattered.
Zhu Wuji turned his gaze back to Zhu Chengqi and grinned. Honestly, that kick and punch were just a tiny taste of actual malice.
Do you want to try it yourself? Right now, Zhu Chengqi's lips are trembling with pure fear. Because that bodyguard, the one who just got beaten until he was coughing up blood, is one of his own men.
To the other directors, one thing is glaringly obvious.
Mu Qinyu came here today absolutely prepared. Every single strike of hers is landing with lethal precision. Right then, Mu Qinyu turns her head, her beautiful eyes filled with surprise and joy. Seeing this, you wink and smile right back at her, clicking your tongue playfully. Your expression is totally smug and cocky. Meanwhile, Liu Yangshuan still thinks you're just some low-level thug she hired. He slams his hand on the table, pointing a shaking finger at her and roaring, "I don't care how much force you use. You will never take over Lingmu Insurance with violence. I was a dear friend of Mu Dongshou. There is no way in hell I will ever vote for you." Hearing this, Mo Qinyu turns to look at him, her voice ice cold. If you check your inbox right now, you will find an investigation report detailing every single illegal backroom deal you pulled since the day you took office.
Instantly, Liu Yangshuan's face freezes.
But he quickly snaps back, snarling viciously. Are you trying to frame me? You're just throwing dirt on my name. Wu Chenyu doesn't blink. Whether it's dirt or the cold, hard truth, Director Liu. If this email gets leaked to the public, the company's reputation will be utterly ruined, and our clients' trust in us will plummet straight to zero. She sweeps her gaze across the room, addressing everyone at the table. Linglu Insurance is the blood, sweat, and tears of everyone sitting. I highly doubt anyone here wants to watch it tear itself apart just to feed one man's greedy, selfish desires. Lianswan's face contorts with pure rage. This is slander! Outrageous slander! He screams. But look, Shan Yu simply glances over at the board secretary. He nods, calmly opening the document box in front of him. He pulls out a thick stack of papers and announces, "This folder contains ironclad proof of all of Liu Yangshuan's illegal transactions. Whether we make this public or not is entirely up to you. Please, take a look and decide for yourself." The moment he speaks up, the shockwave that hits the room is even more devastating than Su Wuji's raw violence. Because Heil isn't just anyone. He is the secretary of the board. No one in this room knows the inner workings of the company better than him.
Liu Yangshuan glares at He Hong with murderous eyes, spitting out, "You ungrateful snake!"
You're biting the hand that feeds you. But He Yuhang doesn't even blink at the insult. As he hands out the documents, he says in a calm, flat voice, "I'm not biting any hand, Director Liu. I have always been loyal to Second Master Wan Ming, the second master of the Mu family, Mu Wanming." Hearing this, several of the directors gasp in shock. The meeting room instantly falls so dead silent, you could hear a pin drop. Once everyone finishes reviewing the documents,
Lu Qinyanyu finally speaks up again. Ladies and gentlemen,
every single piece of data in those files is absolutely real. I don't know about you, but looking at these numbers, doesn't it make your blood run cold? The room remains dead quiet. Even Zhu Kangqi, who was the loudest and most arrogant just moments ago, has completely lost his voice. After a long, tense silence, one of the directors finally spoke up, his voice trembling. "This document, it must never be made public. Otherwise, Suzuki Insurance is completely finished." Then,
She locked her eyes on Liu Langshun. Director Liu,
I'm afraid you have no choice but to leave the board. But whether you turn yourself in or jump from this window, that is entirely your choice. At that exact moment, McHugh Anyu's dominant aura surged once again. The seemingly fragile, delicate girl was suddenly radiating the commanding presence of a queen who ruled the room. Right then,
行，周驱四论者谢你的胎道，元成奉行。休两休吧。
you absolute dead weight. He and Liu Liangswan had already rallied several other directors beforehand, planning to completely crush Mu Qianyu today. But now, this idiot had left him completely cornered and vulnerable.
Hearing this, Liu Yexuan's face turned deathly pale.
He slumped in his chair, completely speechless.
He gestured to Xiaopeng, ordering, drag this old piece of trash out of here. Make sure he spits out everything he knows.
Xiaopeng nodded.
He grabbed Liu Yangquan and dragged him out of the room.
The moment they stepped out of the conference room, Xiaopeng buried a fist deep into his stomach.
Liu Yangquan immediately doubled over in pain. Seeing this, his lips twitched slightly. He placed his hands on his hips and looked away.
Yet, this absurd scene didn't evoke a single laugh.
Instead, even the most aggressive Zhuanqi sat silently in his chair, his face grim and tense.
The other directors who had agreed to team up with him were now looking at him with deep suspicion.
They were clearly wondering if Zhuo Changqi's hands were just as dirty.